City of Saratoga Springs, Tuesday, November 1st, 2022 at 6:01 PM. Present tonight, we have Councilman Podeska, Councilman McComber, Councilman Wilden, Councilman Porter, and Councilman Carn. So we do have a quorum this evening. I've asked Councilman Podeska to lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance and Councilman Wilden to lead us in our invocation.
Our Father in heaven, we're grateful this day, and we're grateful for the opportunity to meet at the City Council and evaluate these decisions and items been placed before us. And we ask Thee to bless us with the spirit of discernment that we'll be able to make good decisions. And we ask Thee to bless those throughout the city with good health. And these things we say in the name of Thy Son, Jesus Christ.
Amen. Will everyone please arise and repeat the Pledge of Allegiance after me? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Okay, we have the presentation of the 2022 street lighting update.
Do you want to do council reports while they're pulling that up, Mayor?
What was that?
Would you like to skip ahead to council reports while they're pulling that up?
Okay, we'll go into council reports. Anything from the council? Nope, okay.
I went to it.
To which one?
Yeah. The Breakfast with Planners, I just appreciate all the hard work that went into making that a very big success. There were quite a few people there. I'm not sure the actual numbers, about 52 people showed up, and that's fantastic because, it's with just meeting with, asking questions. They had breakout sessions, one on transportation, one on the new downtown area. A lot of great feedback, and it's fun to get the residents involved. I stopped by, and it was fun to be a part of that. So I appreciate, and if you can, Annalisa, if you can make sure that you pass that on to all the staff that were involved in making that such a success. Thank you.
Okay. Mark, anything from administration?
No, Mayor, and we have no need for closed session this evening.
No need? Okay. Perfect. Okay, Jeremy?
Back up here. I'm at the, oh, there we go. Does that work? All right, so this was a request, I believe, from Councilmember McComber at our last retreat, and I'm sorry it took so long, but finally here's the information. So the question came up, the city switched to LEDs back, I believe, in 2014. That was based on a cost-benefit analysis when we had this discussion. Many of you were still there with me. And we looked at the payback period, and it was about $50,000 a year. I think the payback period was anywhere from like 5 or 6 years to 8 years, depending on the wattage. But it seemed to make a lot of sense, and obviously, now that we're looking at, back then we had 1,400 or 1,500 streetlights, and now we have almost double that, 3,000. And back when we looked at this cost-benefit analysis on those 1,500 streetlights, it was a $50,000 a year savings between electricity, O&M, because you don't have to change them out with labor. So now that we do have 1,500 LED lights, we are saving the $50,000 a year that we anticipated. But the question came up, they are different color, right? A lot of people noticed that the LED lights are more of a whitish. Blue-white, which is very different than the yellow that we've had for years and years and years. You grew up and so that was the whole point of this presentation is why was that decision made, and what do we do now if that? So I'm just going to skip the rest of the slides, but just at the bottom we have about 3,000 lights now. About 1,600 of them are LED, and then we still have about 1,100 of the old, primarily residential.
Where are those? Are they just where they haven't burned out yet?
Yeah, so we first we focused on the higher wattage ones because those were the biggest cost savings. So that's why for the last 5 or 6 years, when we've retrofit existing lights, we focused primarily on the arterial and the street lights because those were the biggest cost savings. And then, and we're almost completely done with that. And so you can see here the residential. I'd have to defer to Sterling where these residential ones are that are still not LED, but you can imagine they're the older subdivisions.
We've been kind of working through SSD and kind of up Harvest Hills. We've kind of hit the older areas first. Our biggest concern is the old lenses. We've been trying to get rid of any of the lights with the oldest lenses because they're breaking down in the UV. So yeah, we've just been kind of working through the oldest areas first. I believe we did come up with a priorities map that was probably a,
At one of the retreats we.
yeah.
So, and I think as of to now, we've not necessarily requested from the council huge expenditures to fast track that. Obviously, if that was something the council wanted to do, we could fast track that replacement with funding. But I think the direction up to now has just been kind of incrementally as they need replacing, we've been doing this. We've not necessarily made a huge push to fast track that funding.
Well, and if we were to fast track it and do the rest of the city, then 20 years down the road, we're gonna have to do the whole city again, right?
Well, not with the luminaire. I mean, when you change out, the LEDs, it's just like a bulb, like it's called a driver board, but it's a board with all the little lights.
Okay.
Those last about 10 years or more.
I'm just saying, if we do it all at once, we're gonna have a big lump sum.
Right.
As opposed to
Right.
every year.
And as we looked at previously, the cost payback on the residential is the longest. It's like 10 or 12 years. So there's not necessarily the value in fast tracking that as you would get when we did the arterial one. So this gives you just a brief little look at, the old lights were either these high pressure sodium or metal halide. That had, and they have a little bit, well, in the next slide, you'll see the metal halides, I think, are the ones that you're used to, the more yellow ones. They're almost gone. You can see we have about 68 left of the 175 watts, but the 1,000, the big chunk is residential. And then you can see on the other side there what, our LEDs, what makes those up between the arterial, residential, and collectors. Just a brief little slide. So this is how you determine color, right? It's kind of like if I burn a metal, what color does it burn? Or the temperature. As you know, the hotter the flame changes the temperature. So that's why you get these references to Kelvin, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. It's a correlation. And as you can see right now, our current LED lights are in the 4,000 spectrum. They are considered whitish. You say blue. Certainly, if you compare them to an old yellow light, they look blue. But obviously, there's white. You can buy whiter lights too.
The historical light is 2700.
Yeah, maybe the ones that
That's the one everyone knows. That's the historic. That's what 2700.
Right. Well, and you can look at the high pressure sodium. So remember I pointed out something old, so the high pressure sodium are even in the 2200.
Yeah, but that's not even what they were.
Where the metal halides were in the 4,000 to 5,000. But this is just to do that. So that's why we use color temperature, because that's based on a flame color. So why? So really, without getting too technical, it was what was available at the technology at the time. So there is actually no such thing as a white LED. You have R, B, and G, red, blue, and green LEDs. So as you can see here, the little technology lesson here is you can either combine red, blue, and green LEDs to make a white light, which you have to have the perfect wavelength matching, so one's not very expensive. That's not done in the industry except for very specialty applications. What most of the industry does is they take a blue LED light and they cover it with a phosphor coating, like a glow-in-the-dark is kind of an analogy. And that counteracts the blue and it makes the white you see in a much cheaper technology. And when we bought our lights in 2014, vendors weren't offering anything except you had a choice between 4,000, 5,000, or 6,000 Kelvin. That was what they sold you. So we chose the warmest light that was available from the vendors at the time. And it wasn't until recently, from what I saw on the internet, even as recent as 2018, that they finally invented a technology that allowed them to go to warmer temperatures like 3,000 cost efficient. So what they have now is they have multiple phosphors. So you're still looking at blue LED lights, but instead of just having one phosphor color, now they're able to actually, I guess they figured out other phosphor colors that create a warmer light. But something that was only recently available. So that's the kind of the short answer to your question was, we bought the warmest light that was available. That was 4,000 Kelvin. That was all that was offered, unless you wanted to buy a highly expensive specialty light. So we, logical next question is as well, if that was something that was desired to retrofit, if we wanted to start putting in the new LED lights with the 3,000 Kelvin temperature LEDs, obviously they're not going to match the 1,500 we already have. So then you would
But there's
want
1,000 that
Right.
match.
Exactly. So you kind of get where we're at on this discussion. Now, this price is for the entire luminaire assembly. If we were just to replace the driver board, the little board with the lights, I think prices we saw range from $350 from Cyclone
Up to
to
$6 to $7.
up to $600 or $700 for Hadco. So we have a couple different vendors, right? And that doesn't include labor. So if we have, we can dirty math, I guess, if we have 1,500 lights, you're looking at somewhere between, what, $750,000 just in parts to retrofit all the existing lights, plus labor.
So I wasn't interested in retrofitting. I was interested in, as they break, we go back to the more natural light. Because I get a lot of complaints. I personally hate the light in front of my house because it is very intrusive. It gets into the house, it floods into the home. Those are street lights, not into people's yard, into their windows. And that's why they've had to invent the lower Kelvin, because people complain quite a bit. And so that's really what I was getting at is the remaining ones, if we can go to the lower 2,700 or 3,000, I guess what you're saying. And then as ones break and those other ones, as they need to be replaced, a brand new one needs to be replaced in my neighborhood. There was a defective LED bulb. Well, we go in and replace it with the warmer light, because then it also makes the neighborhood more welcoming. It also makes it so that it's less blinding when you're driving. Those lights are actually really hard on the eye at night. It kills your night vision faster than the warm light.
I think the warranty on the heads we're getting is what, 10 to 12 years? We haven't seen a lot of failure, so I don't have a good estimate on when, like the lifespan, right? Probably longer than the warranty. I don't have a real good grip on when they're gonna start
If we
dying.
started putting them in 2014, 15, you would expect to see
Within the next couple years.
in the next couple of years, they'll start, as they are going out. I don't know.
We still have what, 1,500 that need to be
Done too, anyway.
done to work through.
Right.
So I guess the point is just, we want to, from now on, we want to go with got what was
The best at
lowest
the time,
available
yeah.
at the time. Let's just move it
That's,
down.
yeah, just to go into this, knowing the situation, there is going to be I mean, if we install new colored LEDs, like if a block's half built, or we replace one, it is gonna stand out as being a very different look. So,
Yeah.
just so you're aware of that, if that's the direction you wanna go. I don't disagree that there is a movement of cities now wanting to go to the 3,000 Kelvin.
Because it's available.
Dark skies, for a variety of reasons.
Well, that's the other, sorry, that was my other thing too, is all of Wildflower going in, others. We made a commitment to Camp Williams to not have as much light as possible. This light would also make it less intrusive into the dark sky in camp.
Right.
Sorry, that was my other argument.
I guess I'm open to whatever direction council wants to go. I want to give you the facts. But
I think just-
we're open to whatever, want me to prepare more information?
I think it sounds like just replace them as they go out. There's no need to, with the lower.
So the first thing would be, we need to bring you guys an update to our engineering standards to make that an adopted.
Correct.
Right, okay, so that's what my next step would be. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you for that.
Everything's in. You don't have engineering standards in your bathroom?
I just put it farther down,
Okay. Public input. Time has been set aside for the public to express ideas, concerns, and comments for subject matter not listed on the agenda. Please be respectful in your comments. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes, and please avoid repetitive comments. If you do have a comment, please come to the podium and state your name and address for the record. Is anybody here for public input at this time? Do we have any? Oh, if you want to come up.
Hello, I'm Leila Machado, 1166 East Commodore Lane. And I kind of had a comment and a question, and I'm not sure if this is the correct forum for a question. My comment was to the dark sky awareness. I really appreciate that the council is considering that. It's one of the things, I recently moved here from North Salt Lake, and you can't see the stars there, and I'm very happy that I can see the stars in my new neighborhood. So definitely appreciate that. My question was, what is the city's process for noise complaints with construction. I live where the new industrial center is going in, and there was a night a few weeks ago that they were putting in concrete, I assume for the foundation. I assume it needs done consistently and not have breaks due to the middle of the night, but there were cement trucks parked outside of my house at 3 a.m. making a lot of noise, and it just wasn't very pleasant. And it looks like they're going to be doing it again. So I just kind of wanted to know what the process was for that and what the city council can do.
Mark?
If you would make sure and leave your contact information on the sign-in, we'll reach out to you probably tomorrow and tackle those questions for you.
Okay, great. I sent something in on the website when it happened that included videos, and I never got back, so that's kind of why I came. So,
We are allowing one more. And then we'll be done.
and is there a method for the residents to know that they should be aware that there's going to be loud noises at night?
Oh, well, did you get a notice on your door? They've
Nope.
been posting notices on the doors.
Nope, we didn't get a notice for any of them.
Oh, okay.
So, unless it blew off in the night and I never saw it, but I doubt that.
Okay.
They might be along the fence line. Okay.
Because the neighbors need to know when to put the earplugs in.
Yes, or
Yeah.
to sleep in the other bedroom, which is totally acceptable.
Okay.
Okay,
Good to know.
Perfect.
Thank you.
thank you very much.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, Owen, anything sent in, did you say? Okay, I will close the public input at this time.
Mayor, we did receive a letter from Lehigh earlier today, probably around 5 o'clock-ish from Lehigh, so. Regarding vital. Yes, yep, so I just wanted to make sure you're aware of that, and that was in your inboxes.
Okay. Okay, we have the consent items. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move approval of the consent items as on the agenda.
I have a first from Councilman Wilden.
I'll second.
I have a second from Councilman Podeska. Any further discussion? Podeska? Aye. McComber?
Aye.
Wilden?
Aye.
Porter?
Aye.
Carn?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. We have business item 1, first quarter fiscal year 2023 budget financial statements.
Council. Just wanted to highlight those things that are happening with the first quarter financial update for fiscal year 2023. As you can see with the KRI analysis that was done with it, that our development revenues are down compared to last year, and in some cases, the multi-year, which includes the last 5 years. Sorry, got a little bit of a cold. But the good thing is our sales tax are up considerably, which is great, and our energy and our franchise taxes are as well. So, and also our intergovernmental, we've gotten a few grants this last quarter as well. So, barring that, is there any questions concerning this first quarter financial update?
Perfect. Do you have a comment, Councilman Carn?
Nope.
Oh, okay. Perfect. Thank you. Okay, we have the Saratoga Springs Commercial Plat F, preliminary plat, Utah Valley Turf Farm.
Okay. There's several lots on here, including the one for Home Depot. And then that site plan will be going to Planning Commission at the next Planning Commission meeting. So it's moving along. These are the lots that are being proposed. The largest one will be for the Home Depot, and then the other ones, we'll see site plans for those later when they're ready. They haven't submitted any site plans for those yet. And then here's their proposed phasing plan. Phase 1 is all being recorded now, and then Phase 2 is proposed to happen later. They have landscape plans. These are for the detention basin. The site landscaping will be done with each site plan. And here's the overall proposed site plan, and staff recommends approval with the findings and conditions.
Okay, Councilman McComber?
So I have a question. We had a long-term plan to have a belt loop around this center part, and this is killing that belt loop. putting Commerce Drive right in front of Home Depot, and it's making it with speed bumps potentially and everything. So we're going to lose that loop with Exchange and all the way around. Is there any way that they would be willing to consider having Commerce like cut that and come down behind, so that it could sort of come on an angle and then come down behind the Home Depot and then connect, so that we can still have that continuous? Because we have what comes around City Hall, we have what goes around through the neighborhood, like past the America First Credit Union, back behind Walmart. It comes all the way around, and then we lose that.
That is a good question. I would like to pull up the transportation master plan and take a look.
So do you see what I'm talking about?
I thought it was behind this, but yeah, I do know what you're talking about.
So I'm just saying, could they just have it then come down and go behind, and then we can still have that thoroughfare, because then that gets people around the corner to, not Chubby's, it's Cubby's and KFC and others, so they can get around without having to cut in front of what will be the Home Depot.
We do have that loop kind of internal, like you're seeing. So, I wonder if
It's all
I can
through businesses.
This is touching on something I was planning to talk about, so.
So piggyback.
Yeah, so I'll piggyback. That intersection, Commerce Way, I guess is what's labeled on the site plan there. We're not getting a light there because we got one in medical. It's too close.
I think you could get one if you had it a four-way. You could force
We signed away.
you could force UDOT.
We amended our access plan on Redwood Road to get the light moved from Commerce down to Medical Drive.
With Vasa going in, there's going to be a light there.
So again,
Vasa has 1,200 people. Yeah.
the corridor access agreement, if you recall, we requested that they amend that.
Right, but they can still be forced. I mean, Riverton changes there, South Jordan changes there. They have lights within like 200 yards of each other.
So the condition for the light at that was going to be when there was an alternative route. Basically, the Mountain View corridor, once that's completed or once that's at a further phase, so that's carrying the bulk of the traffic to the north-south as opposed to
Redwood.
Road being the main carrier of that traffic. So again, it's something we can discuss with UDOT, but we do have concerns about a full movement. So for example, if there's not a light at that intersection, we do have concerns with what will happen. It's basically going to be Delmore Meadows Part 2, right? If people go in and out of that intersection and they're trying to make left-hand turns.
I mean, you can't cross all the way across Redwood.
Well, they
Without a
already
light.
put the cement barrier up that you can't even use the suicide lane anymore, turning left out of there. And Voss is going to have to shut down Redwood Road because it's going to be a nightmare, everyone coming out mid-block like they used to with Smith's. I talked to you about that. We're going to have many an accident here because we're going to have the same volume, but we have now 3 times the population we did when Smith, not 3, maybe twice the population when Smith's left.
Right, but I'm just saying, if we connect that road through to complete the loop, you're basically creating the expectation that they'll be able to cross there, and you can't. Like, that's just the practical reality, is like, you can't,
So we're going to make that a right-in, right-out as well?
I think it needs to be.
So then the one in the mid-block will be a right-in, right-out. That'll be a right-in, right-out? We're going to kill Vasa and Karate Store and all those places.
Traffic master, or what does the traffic plan say for the Commerce Drive exit on Redwood?
You are correct in that it is shown as, it will be a signal, but that UDOT put a condition that they don't want to put a signal there until Mountain View corridor is done, because they're concerned about how many signals, and that'll reduce the capacity of the road. But that it will be a signal, so
Commerce, where you
We-
go out
Not
the pain.
corridor done
well, I think the pony,
plus years.
I think the pony,
Or-
I could pull it up while I don't want to make you wait.
Well, and you can also make that light and the other one simultaneous so that they go red the same time and they always go green the same time, so you keep the flow. I
You
mean,
bring up an interesting issue, which
that's
is,
what they do like all over the place.
is UDOT going to restrict that to a right in, right out until the signal comes? Or are they going to allow that to be, because you guys, didn't you say there's a concrete barrier already on Commerce?
On on Redwood.
Yeah.
On the south
South of
side.
that, yeah.
Can't go into the suicide lane anymore, turning
I
left.
changed my plans.
Because you couldn't use.
because I couldn't get out.
Right.
I do want to comment just on the transportation master plan. So we used to have that on the transportation master plan. So we used to have that leg that you're talking about on the transportation.
It connected all the way around Walmart.
Right. And as the sites have evolved and the zoning has evolved and the uses, that leg shifted. So this is that leg that you're talking about. It's just shifted on the transportation master plan. So when this came in, that leg that you're talking about that was on the previous versions isn't on the master plan. So as far as, I mean, it would be,
Last transportation master plan, I approved that. So that disappeared because Home Depot wanted it to disappear. Well, let's go back and look at some of the actual recordings of this. I'm getting a little bit, yeah, because I actually did the transportation master plan, the last one, and I approved it.
So when,
I want Home Depot like everyone else, but I'm not gonna jump through hoops and ruin the flow and the transportation of our city because of one business. I didn't let Costco do it, I'm not letting Home Depot do it either. I do believe a light will go in here, has to, because you can't have a right in, right out on the two entrances to Vasa. The only way you can turn left is go out onto, Crossroads Boulevard and turn left at the light. You're gonna kill those businesses in that.
Well, there will be, yeah, so no doubt there will be a light there. We just haven't discussed with UDOT what options they have for the
Right,
entrance.
so if there's going to be a light there, then we need to have the transportation. We could block it so it can't be used until we have a light there or whatever, but the transportation, we don't wanna make a decision today because their light isn't ready yet. And you'll never be able to move that corridor again. One of the whole points of a transportation master plan, one of the whole points of having this kind of discussion now is to prevent things like this from happening.
Right, and the master plan is consistent, and you can even see there's a little symbol there for light, because that is a planned light. But the master plan doesn't necessarily discuss the details of the interim situation, which I agree with you is a huge concern, which is if you open that up to full movement with no light, that's super dangerous. So what do? Do you block it off to a right and right out until the light goes in? That's a good,
The thing is we can do a
Discussion.
warrant study easily when Vasa opens.
Right.
Show the 22 cars backing up, waiting to go out there and blocking Redwood Road and keeping cars from traveling south because they're trying to turn left. I mean, it'll be very easy to justify a warrant study. We justified the one at 400 south. There's a light going in there right now because we were able to show from a warrant study. There's no warrant study available yet because Vasa's not open.
Right.
Go look at the traffic that's created over by the Vasa now, and it's half the size of this Vasa.
there will be a lot of traffic.
Vasa's also said their numbers, their new enrollments has doubled because anticipation for the new Vasa.
Right, so we're reviewing, I think staff is reviewing the VASA plans right now, and we could certainly look at conditions on what they could do to mitigate their traffic impact.
no, Vasa's not a new site. So we're not looking
They're
at
just
those.
taking the old
No,
Smith.
But
yeah.
they're applying for a,
They're already approved, Jeremy.
They've already been all approved.
Yeah, they're under,
Like putting they're ready to
we're
open,
not
like-
evaluating anything.
so
Yeah.
kind of circling back, this issue, we agree with the concerns that you have raised as a council, 100%. We'll get some additional information. As far though as the corridor plan through here, that light is not anticipated right now. From a warrant standpoint, yes, it may warrant it. It's kind of UDOT's decision as to whether they're going to stick with that plan or not.
It's UDOT's decision, but they also do warrant studies so that takes the politics out of it, and then they just put the light in when it demands it.
So again, we'll bring that up with them in our next
I just
conversation.
don't want to build a transportation plan that's short-sighted. We talk all the time, we want to look 30 years out, and we're, right now, because we're so desperate for Home Depot and everyone wants it so bad, I feel like we're making accommodations for that. I really would like to see them, if anything, we have some kind of continuity there, because long-term, it will be much better. Thank you.
Councilman Carn?
The previous.
Yeah, Sarah, is the applicant here?
They are.
Okay.
Did they have
There are some concepts on this plan, and I'm just curious if there's more behind these concepts, or these actual, like, I see a car wash on here. And we've got a lot of car washes today.
We get nothing for those.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just wondering, are the businesses that are kind of
We are going
pictured
to,
on here?
we are bringing you a code amendment very shortly that has a spacing limit on car washes.
Okay,
And we're going to propose 5,000 feet, and that would mean it would be allowed here.
but if we approve this tonight, does that,
No, this is not, this is a
This
concept.
is pure conceptual
plan.
and what's on there.
Right, we're not approving a car wash, no.
We need to do a pending ordinance on that so that we don't get caught, Kevin? That's an option. So maybe in 2 weeks?
Let's just do it.
We've got it scheduled for the November 15th Planning Commission. If it goes to that one, the next council meeting is, what's the date for that one? Let me.
The 16th, I think. November 16th. is that?
November 15th, what's the,
So that's
Also
what I'm saying.
considered,
It's on the 16th, and we can then talk about it. in the-
it's considered a pending ordinance when it goes to the planning commission.
yeah, so it would be
That
pending
will-
ordinance as of the 15th.
Okay.
So 14 days it'll be.
I mean, my concern was some of the conceptual businesses I see there. I don't know if we need more, another, that type of car wash. We've got lots of them
But when the
coming.
recession comes, they're all going to become ghost towns.
We're getting, the reason we're bringing that change to you is we're getting a lot of inquiries for car washes.
Okay.
For good marketing.
I think it's the 10th, is it not, Sarah, not the 15th?
Planning Commission.
Planning commission is on the 10th, right?
Oh, let's see.
Is that the meeting that it will come to the planning commission?
Yes.
Okay, so before your next meeting, that's the quickest.
So as
gap.
of the 10th, it will be pending
better.
ordinance.
Thanks, Kevin.
So my other concern, and I already talked to Mark about it in our one-on-one, was just any way to get Lake Drive to continue, it's kind of along the same discussion, get Lake Drive to continue south into the parcel B or the DI property.
Great connectivity of it.
Yeah, just create better connectivity through there, well, no, Lake Drive, which goes kind of behind the Taco Bell Wendy's in the south. Yeah.
This is Lake Drive kind of a looping
Yep.
right here.
It stops right there at, it doesn't go all the way south into the next property, which I'd hoped it would have. Because on this concept plan, it runs right into a car wash.
Yeah, that'd be great if we stubbed that.
I mean, if we could get that to go down, I don't know if it's too late or,
No, I don't think it's too late.
I'd just like that to get looked at, if that would make sense to continue that into that other property.
Yeah, and that's a great condition to add.
Okay?
Now, remember, any of your conditions, we already have a code requirement that talks about interconnectivity. And so your condition obviously cannot change the code.
Okay.
You'd have to have a code amendment that would come back.
For me, actually, if the road is even a little bit more substantial, it would also almost meet my demand, because then Commerce goes down, now it connects
Turn
with the
left and
exchange, you know what I mean? It connects-
Yeah.
You're creating the connectivity with a left-hand turn versus a flow. It almost would meet my concern. It would meet my concern, I
Yeah.
think. If it was a little more substantial, not just like a little like a business road, but like,
So what I'm looking at doesn't really show me the parcel to the south to see how that would work, but we can look at it.
I think between DI and the other development would work.
Well, and I'm just.
Comes in right there.
I'm just seeing it coming in, so it would be a great place to have it
Right.
connect.
Right.
Into that road,
Yep.
because there's a
Both the
road
problems.
coming in.
That's kind of that's the right end for the DI right there, coming off of Redwood, so.
So then it would come down and connects with, what is that, medical?
But is that a private road or is that a city road right there?
Well, it's more of a driveway. It's more of a private driveway, so they would have to get
Yeah.
agreement, to connect from SLR. So, but
But whatever business is going on the corner would love that connectivity.
yeah, it'd be a great connection. So I think it's a good condition that they stub to the property line and
think we have an
possibly
idea.
connect if they can get approval for that.
Now, like I mentioned, I don't believe that that's a condition you can impose on your approval tonight. We have a code that governs this, and that's what they would be held to, is the code that's in place right now.
I do think that the condition like that, do you think it would be in alignment with the code? So I don't see it
The
being
condition
contrary
is
to the code.
Comply with the code with respect to interconnectivity. I think that's a condition you can impose. I think
Basically
it's
just
a little bit redundant, but
We
you
don't
could
have to
impose
create a
that.
special condition, we can just reference the existing code as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, I don't know in the application of that code, I think that's something that planning will have to discuss with the applicant, how to meet that code requirement, provide interconnectivity between different properties.
Okay. Any other comments?
I am afraid that my point got lost in our discussion over Lake Drive or Commerce Way, that we need to look at that intersection of Commerce Way, and it needs to not be a full movement until there's a light. It needs to be right in, right out until there's a light there.
I did have a chance to look it up, and it does reference Grandview as Mountain View corridor, but I'm almost wondering if Foothill would meet that criteria. So we'll meet, when we meet with UDOT, we'll discuss that with them, but what it does reference is Mountain View corridor complete to Grandview is what it says. So it says you can have the light at Commerce.
Which we should be at by next year, right?
Medical, or Market, or Medical.
Medical.
But you can only have one until,
Right, but that's next August.
I think, yeah, I would argue that our
If not sooner.
project meets that criteria.
Okay.
The project today meets the criteria. It's going in.
We'll see. I mean, we're gonna meet with UDOT, but I would think that's an argument we could make.
Okay. Anyway, I just want to make sure that didn't get lost. Thank you.
I'm sorry, let me clarify. What portion of this property is included in the plat, Sarah? Can you point that out?
Well, so
Yes,
the
you're
comment is
probably
to have
right.
Lake Drives connect right here, and then so this plat goes to the boundary line. There's a little bit of property here, and that's SLR's property. But we can also have SLR make that connection on their end. So I think it's a good condition.
That little sliver is SLR.
Right. So that little piece there is SLR.
Oh, that's funny.
I mean, SLR they may have concerns about pouring extra traffic. I don't know.
I guess the question I have is, are you forcing public traffic onto what is considered a private drive?
Correct.
Is that, and you can't impose conditions on another property owner.
Agreed. I guess what I'm asking
Well, we-
is to get it looked at and see if it's a possibility. I'm not making a condition.
Okay.
We just want to comply with our current code.
Right.
Well, but current code does require interconnectivity between separate landowners, or else we would have little islands everywhere.
Right. I think the hiccup's going to be that they already built and we go back.
Well, but they haven't built that little sliver.
8 feet?
It's like, they put a little island of a plot there.
Yeah, so,
I didn't think I could make it a condition. I'm hoping that maybe they
work
can
something
make it work.
Part of our code of interconnectivity.
Okay. Perfect. Other comments? There's no action on this one? Okay.
It's a
Well, there is.
we have to approve the.
preliminary plan.
Preliminary plat, yep. Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
To approve Saratoga Springs Commercial Plat F Preliminary Plat, Utah Valley Turf Farm LLC applicant, southeast of Lake Drive and Exchange Drive, with all findings and conditions in the staff report, including items discussed tonight.
Okay, I have a first from Councilman Carn.
Can we specify items
Yeah,
discussed
that's-
tonight?
Well, so I can't make it a condition,
You can say that it complies with interconnectivity.
just that it implies with the interconnectivity code. How about that?
I'll second.
Okay?
Okay, I have a second from Councilman Wilden. Any further discussion?
Yes, does the city council see an application beyond preliminary plat? Or is this our last time? Because final plat is approved by staff or the planning commission?
Final plat is approved by staff and site plan is approved by planning commission.
So that's why I'll be voting no, because we will not see this again. I won't be able to see any kind of resolution or any kind of reality of coming from all of this conversation we had with your road, my road situation, et cetera.
I'm wondering if the applicant wants to speak to that.
Yeah, if they're here, they're more than welcome.
Yep,
Before
motion
we
on the
make
table,
a-
are we, do we need to?
We have a
Searching
motion.
for more information to the motion.
There.
The applicant here. If you want to come up to the desk here.
Hi, Daniel Schmidt with WPI.
Yes, do you have any thoughts, comments to what's been discussed tonight before we vote?
Not directly, I know in terms of the road that the councilman was addressing. We had discussions with staff. I can't speak to when and if the general or master transportation plan was changed. But what I can address is that at least it's our intent to get the circulation through, that having those cars and consumers go in front of most of the stores to get exposure is what the stores want. There is access through from the Redwood Road that you're discussing in terms of that particular access, but it does go all the way through to Exchange Drive. It's just not, I don't know what you would say, a 25-mile-hour road, right? In front of the stores, there's similarly access at the back of Home Depot. It's mostly for trucks and deliveries, but it is sort of open to the public, at least in terms of consumers. The access to the DI, we actually had in our original submittal to the city, and I don't recall which staff member said that that won't work. Something about the DI side of that. I couldn't tell you. But anyway, whether it's stubbed to the line or not, you'd end up with who's on the corner of the Taco Bell and the Wendy's?
Wendy's, yeah.
Did you review
Have concrete barriers?
Lake Drive?
That's the one he said, staff said wouldn't work.
Is this the spot that you said that was discussed? The Lake Drive extending right here?
Yes,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
I couldn't tell you. We anticipated that only from our prior meetings and prior plats, that that would be a required connection, so we came in with that. I don't recall why and who at the staff level, we can go back through our notes, suggested that that wouldn't work. I think it was primarily from the DI side of the property line.
Sarah, if you could pull up the aerial image again. If you look right behind the loading bays at DI, it looks like the road kind of goes as if it's a connection point, go to the west. See how the landscaping disappears and there's that drive aisle, if you would, that goes straight to the back of their property?
Tell me where the cursor is?
Yeah, zoom in right there. Right in the center. That appears as if it's,
Stub to the property line.
yeah.
Well, I don't know.
I'm just saying,
It just looks like it's.
that could be another connection point as well, potentially.
All right.
It could just be. You can have it stubbed behind Home Depot and then behind DI.
So that makes this blurrier for me.
It does, well,
Right.
Because they brought it originally with that road there where it should be, now it's not there. Or that connection.
So is Lake Drive right here?
Yeah.
That should be Lake Drive right there, yes. But on the plan we're voting on tonight, it's not there anymore. It's been removed and it stubs into a car wash. Well, that's what's on that corner.
Councilman, I can suggest, we'd be happy to talk with SLR or the particular church entity about if they want an access there. We're okay stubbing it to the line, to the property line. They can take it up if they wanted it to. We're okay doing that. It's not a material issue for us.
Mayor, can I remove my motion from the table?
Yes.
Can I make a new motion that we table this and let the two development communities discuss this?
Wouldn't it be a substitute motion?
A
Substitute.
substitute motion then?
Correct,
I
Kevin?
think procedurally you should vote on.
Vote on it?
That's on the table.
I made the motion, now I'm going to vote no.
Making a motion
Well,
to
then vote
withdraw
no.
that motion.
Then just, we'll vote.
I guess you could make a motion to withdraw that motion and then
So I move to withdraw my motion.
do.
I'll second.
First from Mayor, Councilman Carn to remove his motion.
I
The second from Councilman,
I think I need to second it because I was the original
Okay.
second.
Well, it's a substitute.
Councilman
to
Wilden to remove the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries to remove the motion,
Withdraw, yeah.
withdraw the motion. And Councilman Carn?
So I'll try. So I make them, I move
I don't
on business
know.
item 2, Saratoga Springs Commercial Plat F, preliminary plat, Utah Valley Turf Farms LLC applicant southeast of Lake Drive and Exchange Drive, that we table this till our next council meeting where the applicant can discuss with neighboring developers on connectivity options.
I'll second.
I have a first and a second I have a first from Councilman Carn, a second from Councilman Porter. Applicant, you had a comment?
Yeah, just to like the council to consider, we have, with the Home Depot on the table, we are on a expedited timeline for the plat approval, plat and starting construction. I don't know if the other items in the plat seem to be acceptable, but for potential access, way that there can be a motion, that can be explored after the approval of the plat or as a subsequent condition to, so that we can have those conversations anytime with.
We meet on the
time, relatively soon with the church, but not hold up the construction drawings and remainder of the processing with the city.
So this would come back the 15th, what you're proposing? So in 2 weeks?
Yeah, I'd like to come this back the 15th, and I don't know if it's procedurally the right thing to do, but if they want to have that discussion, I'd be willing to have a special meeting
We
for
can do a
this
Zoom
item
meeting even, yeah.
on Zoom, yeah.
One option too, I just thought of is you could make it a condition that they stub, and if it turns out that SLR is like, we don't want that, we can't force that traffic on our private property, they can come back with an amended plat.
Oh,
We do
That's easy
have
to do.
the site plan scheduled for the planning commission on the 10th. And so I think that's part of the concern is that,
Because that would, if we have a meeting, that would delay. If we continue, then it delays it going to planning commission.
Put it on.
This is the perfect, this is the
condition that it stubs.
This is the perfect example of why we gave away too much authority to other, that's what's causing this problem, by giving it to planning commission and to staff for final plat. And so I think that we need to revisit that as a council. On major developments, we need to be looking at.
On commercial.
On commercial major developments, we should have final say because we were the ones elected, not appointed people. But just a side note on the comment. I would be okay if you removed this one as well, Chris, if you wanted to.
Let me try this again.
Or you could all vote no on it and then do.
Just call it, okay,
Okay.
call for a vote.
Call for a vote. Councilman Carn?
No.
Porter?
No.
Wilden?
Nay.
McComber?
Nay.
Podeska?
Nay.
Motion fails unanimously. I think that's the
Does that mean
first
we
time in
don't pull a
history.
motion?
This is my first time in 13 years, 3 motions.
I will move that I do this correctly, that we approve business item 2 with staff findings and conditions, adding a condition that the access point, that Lake Point is
Stub to the property line.
to the property line and evaluate for interconnectivity.
Okay, I have a first from Councilman Wilden,
Second.
second from Councilman Porter. Any further discussion?
I don't know if I want to talk anymore.
Councilman Podeska? Aye. McComber?
Aye.
Wilden?
Aye.
Porter?
Aye.
Carn?
Yes,
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you for your patience. Thank you.
thank you. Had to get through
So
that.
the minutes should reflect Wilden finally got it right.
You'll be looking for that.
I didn't take my Centrum Silver.
Speaking of the yes or no, it is like a best practice to vote yes or no because of the confusion with yay or nay or aye or nay or, you know what I mean? It is a best practice to say yes or no.
But Robert's Rules of Order, it does say yay or nay. And
It does.
Yes.
And the council doesn't have, you're not
I
required.
know, we're not required, but that's
But-
standard protocol. In
Yeah.
Congress, they say yay or nay.
And it's whatever you want to do, just
Okay.
as far as elimination of confusion on the record.
Okay.
It's up to you.
Your point has been made, yay.
Hey,
Aye.
By the way, a side note as well, the legislature actually is going to, there's probably going to be a land use bill in the legislature next year that probably like gets rid of this whole discussion about final plats. Final plat is now going to be turned into what we consider a preliminary plat. Instead of a final plat being just kind of a rubber stamp, you meet the requirements of the preliminary plat.
And that's
Final
it.
plat is going to be the equivalent of the preliminary plat now.
Like
That's what-
final plat will be more like occupancy.
that'll come.
the legislature's trying to force that. They want uniform land use ordinances, and that's one of them.
So then really the preliminary plat, which we have, will be the final say.
Right,
So
that'll
it'll
be the
come to
final.
us. We don't really need to adjust
Yeah,
come 3 months from now.
just watch that from the legislature.
Yeah.
Keep an eye on that, Mark. Okay. North Frontier Business Park. Yep, you should be, oh, nope.
okay, screen now. So this is a request for the development agreement amendment The office warehouse zone does not currently allow outdoor storage, and the applicant is requesting that their development agreement be amended to include outdoor storage on the east portion of their property. Oh, I'm not advancing. This is the preliminary plat, so the eastern lots, the ones on the east side of the dividing road, are the lots that they are proposing be allowed to have outdoor storage. This is the language in the proposed amendment. In summary, they are asking for a 20-foot height limit for outdoor storage and proposing that they have a screen wall that's 60% the height of the storage, which would be 12 feet. And then they are proposing that they provide a detailed storage locations and screening plans with each site plan. Discussion, is outdoor storage desired in this location? Is a 20-foot max storage height is being proposed and 12-foot screening is being proposed? And then the applicant does have a presentation if you would want to see it. Okay.
Okay.
I'll
Yep.
you just gave it to me, so I'll change this on.
We deleted one slide, so it should shorten the presentation.
Appreciate that.
Okay, thanks.
Mayor and Councilwoman, for me to begin as she gets up prepared. I appreciate.
Sorry, there's a few in here. Which one am I missing? It's the, this one? 1211, yeah. I did a PDF and PowerPoint, so either one will do. Okay. Maybe the PDF if it's funky. Yeah, maybe. Oh, you don't have a new one? Yeah.
Because then you don't have to worry about fonts, pictures.
And apologies for the header. It does say the Planning Commission. I understand we're in front of the City Council now, but this is something we presented to the Planning Commission. And the history here is important. This has been going on for some time now. My name is Doug Farr, and I represent the developer JDH Development and John Hadfield, the applicant here. When this property was first purchased, one of the original reasons it was purchased was for a specific tenant, Vinyl Industries, who's here, a representative is here in the audience today, who does require outdoor storage. Originally, the site had 3 different zones: office, warehouse, regional commercial, and mixed use. The mixed use plan easily could have put condos, townhomes in there, and some other commercial structures, but because of the location of this property, it's adjacent to the Cascade Collision Commercial Center. In meeting with the city and the staff, there was a decision made to try to keep this consistent and to bring desired businesses into the location. So there was an application to have it rezoned into the office warehouse zone, which at the time that the application was submitted, there was a conditional use of, permitting outdoor storage with approval, which is the reason, that was one of the requirements of the tenant, Vinyl Industries, in approving this property. There were concerns by the city on that mixed-use location, which is another reason for that change. So the applicant has been working with the city and the staff to try to find a plan that will work. And again, this has been going on for several years. If we go to the next page here of this PDF, this kind of gives a brief timeline of the issues here. Going back to April of 2019, and when in front of the Planning Commission, October 10th, 2019, for the conditional uses. On October 10th, 2019, that's when the concept plan was first submitted to the Planning Commission. And then on February 27th, 2020, several months later, the Planning Commission did hold a hearing on changes to the conditional uses for the office warehouse zone, which were approved without any instruction or explanation or notice to the applicant here. Thereafter, the City Council did approve the concept plan, which did, as you can see from the yellow box here on the eastern portion,
did identify outdoor storage as one of the uses that was planned for the property. The development agreement was signed the next day after the city council approved it on March 18th. And because of this office warehouse zoning change on the conditional use table, it's presented a problem, which is why we're here for seeking an amendment to the development agreement to allow for this conditional use. One of the problems that it was addressed by the Planning Commission we want to talk about is this kind of the view from Redwood Road and also the view from I-15, which is about 4 miles away. There was some concern that this outdoor storage would create some sort of eyesore. As you can see from some images that we'll show later on, you will not be able to see this outdoor storage is only going to occur on the easternmost parcels, which would not be visible because of the grading of the property from Redwood Road. And I-15, 4 miles away, you're not going to be able to see that outdoor storage from there. We can go to the next slide. This one's helpful to kind of see the current layout of how the buildings are going to be constructed. The yellow highlighted buildings, the outdoor storage would be that we're seeking would be on the easternmost portions of those parcels east of the buildings being constructed there. You can go to the next page. These are the next few images are images from Redwood Road. Now the buildings will be a little different. These are older depictions, but the view it will be substantially similar. If you can go to the next page, there's another image, and you can see in the middle of this photo, those buildings in the background are those easternmost buildings where the outside storage would occur east of that. And you can continue the next. Here's just another depiction. And again, another depiction. If you go up one more, back down a little bit. Again, there's the western buildings are in the forefront, and the background are the eastern buildings where this proposed amended development agreement is being proposed. The screening plan was brought up in front of the Planning Commission in our discussions with staff. Initially, the staff proposed a 60% ratio between the height of the fence or the screen and the outdoor storage, and the applicant maintained that ratio, that 60% ratio, for this 20-foot request for permitting outdoor storage at a height of 20 feet. So 60% would be a 12-foot fence. If we can go to the next slide. Here is a picture. I mean, one of the issues brought up by the city staff is that maybe the city did not want any outdoor storage. It's currently permitted at other businesses in Saratoga Springs, including Tractor Supply. These are pictures taken of the outdoor storage around Tractor Supply, which is essentially what the applicant is looking for at this property, except that this would be, again, on that eastern out of view site. There was reference earlier in the meeting to a letter by Lehigh City, because Lehigh City is just east of this property. Vinyl Industries currently is in Lehigh City, and we've had discussions with the Lehigh City mayor, who's been pleased with Vinyl Industries. They just need to expand because they need more space, which is why they're looking at Saratoga Springs. And again, they're one of many different businesses that we're approaching, but this is the one that that needed this outdoor storage, and the reason why this whole zone at the very beginning was changed to office warehouse. And with that, I open up for any questions or comments that may be directed my way.
So staff would like to make a couple points of clarification. They're correct that it won't be very visible from Redwood Road. However, on the east property line, there's a 50-foot grade change. So there's a canal here, and right at the property line, it's 30 feet, and then just a few more feet is 40 feet, and then 50 feet. This will be a highly visible location from the east. We wanted to, and there's single-family homes in Lehigh City in that location. And so this, just like you can see the other buildings that have been built out this way from across the valley, you'll be able to see these. Staff did initially propose a 10-foot height limit and a 6-foot fence, so the ratio isn't staff's proposal. We just wanted to make that a point of clarification. The numbers that you're seeing, the 20-foot height and the 12-foot fence is the applicant's request.
Okay. Councilman McComber?
So I was here when those decisions in March of 2020 were being made, and the outdoor storage was for some vehicles, like if it was a car maintenance, like if they were working on cars and they were storing some cars. So outdoor storage of cars, not a 20-foot vinyl storage. Another thing is Tractor Supply is out of compliance, so maybe we can send our compliance officer because they're not allowed to have outdoor storage at Tractor Supply. So thanks for bringing that to our attention. But we do need to have that rectified because that's not allowed at Tractor Supply. The third thing is this is highly visible. Your shots were very well coordinated, your angles from your engineering, but like when you're coming up Redwood Road, can we see the storage units on Redwood Road? Absolutely, you can see the storage units. You can see them very easily from Redwood Road. This is the same grade level as those. Also from the east, I appreciate the mayor of Lehigh or whoever it was sent that. The city manager, but I would love to redistribute that to all the single-family homes here and see how they feel. If we gave that to all of the residents, that here's what your city manager thinks about your view, is he's fine with putting a 20-foot vinyl fencing right behind your house. Lastly, when you're coming up on Lehigh, Maine, and then into Crossroads Boulevard, you're going to be able to see this. You'll be able to see it. You'll be able to see this because they're white. It's white. It is very stark white. You'll be able to see this from I-15. You look over, and Saratoga Springs, you're going to see this. This will be something that you will notice. A perfect example is when you're driving up Redwood Road right now, look over at Wildflower. It looks like an industrial compound that got built, the townhomes that are being built in Wildflower, because we didn't make enough variance in the backs and stuff. Maybe we didn't think of that because it was on that industrial, because it's right by where they're doing the industrial mining and the rock removal, but you can see it and it doesn't look good. And Saratoga Springs, we are up higher and you will see it from a distance. If I lived in those homes behind there, just because it's on a border and it's one city to another, I don't feel comfortable saying, hey, stick it to Lehigh because they can't vote for me. These residents are going to be very disappointed having these vinyl fences, vinyl storage behind their house. And I did drive by the vinyl storage in Lehigh, and it doesn't look super clean and organized. They put a lot of the broken stuff is there. It gets stacked high. It's a messy facility. Plastic flying everywhere. I saw plastic wrap on 2 other property owners down the road. I mean, I can imagine that they're not too happy with all of the plastic that blows around that they use to wrap around the vinyl. And the initial, they say they had outdoor storage. If you pull up their own slide, it's a teeny little box. They're going from that little box to now this entire thing. So they're going from that little yellow box to now wanting the whole eastern frontage being outdoor storage capability. I'm completely against this amendment. I think they need to stick with their original approvals. And I was here when we did that little box, and that was for a very small, detailed discussion around potentially having some cars parked outside. Thank you. Turn the time back to you, Mayor.
Councilman Porter?
So I think I know the answer, but I'm going to ask anyway. Kevin, if they got the approval back in, March or February of 2020, is this a grandfathered use, or does this amendment need to happen? I'm just trying to understand if they already have what they need and we're doing this amendment for nothing, or if this amendment actually needs to be voted on.
I don't believe that they're vested.
Okay.
But there is the possibility their request is legal if you approve it and it's included in the development agreement.
Right.
That's something you can discuss with them. I know that it was discussed by the council. Some outdoor storage was discussed with the council, and I think the council expressed a willingness to consider it, but not give them whatever they asked for.
There's no existing vesting is the.
And then again, there's no existing vesting. Now, their expectations were different, I think, than they're sincere in what their expectations were. But there wasn't any vested right, and there's no vested right that exists.
Okay. I guess my question to the applicant is, the 20 feet, is that, like, I mean, is that a deal breaker, or is, would 10 feet, would you be able to make 10 feet work, or is?
10 feet makes no sense. 15 feet would work.
Okay. I guess my question also is, I mean, like, would you say 15 feet, like, is this just that your piles can go 15 feet high, or are you building a shed that's 15 feet tall to put stuff into? I mean, I know what like a stockyard looks like, and they usually have like a shed or something that they're storing in. I just want to know, like, I mean, if we say 15 feet, is it just I'm not going to pile my pallets more than 15 feet high, or is it, a structure?
Bundles of material, so packaged material, 15 feet high.
Okay.
So currently, I'm just looking at the Google Earth image of your store over out of curiosity, you've got like things stacked 4 and sometimes 5 pallets high. Could you help give me a kind of reference? What is where are those bundles approximately? How large are those bundles?
They vary a fair amount. The smallest individual ones are about 30 inches high. The tallest ones are about 45 inches high. So when you stack those, you get various heights.
So you'd be looking for basically about 4 pallets high?
Correct.
So just comment, I'm probably more in line with Michael's thoughts on the stackable, but if it were to do that and 15 feet could work, I think I would be more comfortable with the fence height match the stacking height, so that from the angle, there's not stuff towering over a fence.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, well, and to your point of how do you enforce that, I mean, if it's just pallets stacked on, like, I mean, we don't really have a code that says, you can only have 4 pallets stacked on top of each other, so like, that's not something we can enforce. I think
And you can't have a guy going out the tape measure.
Right, like,
Right.
I mean, we don't have an airspace, requirement.
if it's
like
about
you
the
can't
fence,
get,
it's-
that's not something we have a code for, is how high you stack your pallets. So I think that a higher fence is probably.
I like the mayor's 15-15.
Then if it's under the fence, it's compliant. If it's not,
Enforce it.
Well, you can drive by and look at that.
Build a 15-foot fence.
Yeah, but,
If it's matched, you can drive by and see if it's above the fence.
okay.
I just think.
And we weren't suggesting a white fence that high. I wasn't sure if you're referring to
No, the
white
stacks of
fence or
white
the
vinyl.
stacks of white vinyl.
I was talking about the stacks of white vinyl. You'll be able to see it, but if, to the mayor's point, if they're even, you wouldn't see it.
Sir, could you zoom in a little bit?
That's what I'm talking about.
do you have a comment on this, Mark, or?
So if you scroll to west just a little bit, so move your position to
Yeah,
the
this
west.
is what, he's looking at the same thing.
To the west?
Yeah, towards Lehigh, towards the freeway, yeah. And then change your view there. So I think that's kind of zoom in on that back fence. I think this is the conversation that the council's kind of honing in on, is
6 high.
is what's it gonna look like from the rear of the property? And in this case, I think that's probably about a 5-foot chain link fence or something like that?
6 foot.
So just from a scope standpoint, this is kind of the scope of.
Those are,
Well, and if you looked at the entrance too, all of the garbage, that's what I was referring to, big piles of garbage at the, like, I know it's an industrial use to me. This has a feel of that. If you go over to the entrance, the one you're looking at. He's looking at the Mill
That's
Pond
all
one.
I mean,
Oh, this is.
by one-man band. And,
So
He's looking at the Mill Pond one, and it's got like big piles of garbage right at the entrance.
So while they're wandering through that road, my thoughts is like, just theoretically, I'm not opposed to outside storage in general. If anyone's been to Walmart, Home Depot, or Tractor Supply during certain times of the year, there's always outdoor storage. We don't really have a great code around it right now. And this wouldn't fall in a zone, that would potentially restrict it. So before we'd approve something like this, I'd like to see it addressed holistically where we'd be comfortable with. You know, I know the city manager, Lehigh, said they're okay with that, but Mark says we're okay with stuff all the time. That's just not true. I'm kidding, Mark.
We do have this section of code about outdoor display that any business would be allowed. So this isn't zone specific. This is outdoor display. So when you do see Walmart and Home Depot and things like that, they're falling under this language here.
But when they bring in like pallets worth of soil or bark or whatever.
Depot's gonna want to do that.
Walmart does it. They have plants outside. I don't have a problem, but I don't think that's a display. That's actually Tractor Supply. You can go and buy a trailer. That's not really supply. They're storing the trailer right in their parking lot. I'm not saying send code enforcement out there because I have no issues with it. But I don't think we're really addressing outdoor storage. And I remember when we approved certain things, and I won't say what they are in the past, we approved them because they fell within a community plan, and it was very specific around that zone that couldn't be expanded out and open the floodgates. I think everyone knows what I'm talking about, you know. So I think we need to look at it here as whatever we're doing is going to set a precedent in the future because we don't have something to tie it specifically to.
May I make one comment?
Yes.
You know, as, Vinyl Industries has said, they're fine with this 15-15 proposal, but, you know, each site and each may not need that 15 feet of outdoor storage. So I think what we would propose if we're going to amend this amendment is to, do that 15-15 for, this Vinyl Industry tenant that's going to be there. That's the max, but it can be a smaller or a shorter, screen fence for the other sites on those parcels.
Stuff can't
Exceed,
you can't exceed the height
Right.
of the fence, right?
But why are we giving them a right for this entire eastern front property for outdoor storage when, if anything, we only alluded to a small little section before? I don't know why we're like just abandoning that.
I mean, I will reiterate that this was an approved conditional use when this was all going through for outdoor storage, and that was the idea. But, plans
We can
do.
go and we can listen to the recording, it was not, it was not for vinyl fence.
Well, what I'm saying is, it was an approved conditional.
We did not
u-
approve it.
Well, I mean, a approved conditional use for that zone.
We would consider it as a
Sure.
conditional use, it was
Sure.
never approved.
Yeah, I think we're having a semantics debate. And
Well, but that's a big semantics, because you don't have a vested right. If
I
it was-
didn't say that.
Okay.
And I don't want to argue, but what I'm saying is, plans do change, and there are, applications that are submitted for conditional uses, and the property was rezoned to office warehouse for a purpose. The client could have made significant money just putting in condos and townhomes there into the mixed-use plan, but tried to work with the city and the staff to find something that would work for this property, which is adjacent to, like I said, the Cascade Collision and other commercial properties.
Can I just say one other thing?
Yes.
To me, some of these type uses are really Americana. I mean, a lumber yard, a professional plumbing store. You could go drive by a professional plumbing store, they're gonna have a pipe rack with PVC on it, with polyethylene on it. And we all like to go to those places. I can't get the same Moen faucet I can get at Home Depot that I can get at a professional plumbing store. I can't get the same advice. You can't get the same quality of fencing at Home Depot that you can get at my store. So there's a place for these places, and there's a place, should be a place in your city for these places, even though they potentially might look ugly.
We do have a place for them. We have an industrial zone in Saratoga Springs.
Okay. Any other thoughts from the council? Councilman Wilden?
I don't remember the specific conversation, but I do remember us being somewhat comfortable, but this has shifted quite significantly. And we're looking at an exception, and seeing pictures of how it looks at other areas really isn't reassuring to me. I mean, that's the reality is we have certain restrictions and things as directed by the residents of what they want to see. And this falls outside of it. And I've considered those many times in the past, and I've been an advocate of that. But to Councilman McComber's point, we're expanding it all across the back of that property beyond what we had originally contemplated. And it's, anyway,
So what I'm getting is you'd be more comfortable if it was to this
Restricted to vinyl industries.
Final Industries with a 1-to-1 match for height and screening.
As opposed to across the entire property.
yeah, but isn't this all vinyl industry?
No.
They're just like one of those buildings.
Oh, it's just one of these buildings?
Which parcel is theirs, Sarah?
You know, I'm gonna have to let them answer that. I don't.
I thought the whole eastern side.
No, they're just like one of those.
So is it the second parcel down?
The bottom one.
One next to the storage units.
That one there.
That one.
I mean, if we're talking about one of those units, that would match not the materials that we were talking about, but a consistent size. And if we did 1-to-1, it would be screened. And I think there would need to be, I would hope the property owner maintains it better than what's being maintained on Lehigh and Mill Pond. So, I mean, that's where I'm at, is limiting it to that one. The bottom, is it the south building? Are we talking, yeah, so lot 8 and the fence and outdoor storage 1-to-1.
And this, you know, this proposal may be problematic to the applicant in that other tenants, you know, one of them, it was alluded to, is a plumbing supply store and an electrician who would also require outdoor storage, albeit not as high because of the product type. Have also expressed interest in these properties.
Well, and see, then that's a big unknown is at an electrical company, why would they need 20-foot high variances?
He's saying this would be 15 and these would be like the standard 10.
Whoops, I don't know what I did.
Is that what you were proposing earlier, was vinyl would be 15, Vinyl Industries, and the rest would be the standard 10?
As far as standard, though, the city standard, Sarah, is what, 6 foot?
Fence height, right? We don't have outdoor storage height.
The thing
Yeah.
is, you guys did number 4, today's discussion, the overlay. This is actually most likely within that because it's close to the Lehigh border. And so we're also now looking at the overlay. This is the entrance to our city coming down Redwood Road from a pretty good height. And this whole thing is turning it into an industrial zone where we have the industrial zone in other parts of the city. Just keep that in mind.
Chris, you look like you got a thought? Nope? Okay, I will entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the Northern Frontier Business Park Master Development Agreement amendment number 1, Ashley Hadfield applicant, East Redwood Road and Harvest Drive, ordinance 22-43 dated today, with all staff findings and conditions, with an additional condition that only, was it lot 8?
Lot 8.
Lot 8 have the outdoor storage with a 1-to-1 ratio of stacking to shielding. And then the fencing be solid,
Do you want a height?
matching 1-to-1. So if they do 15 feet,
I'd say a
15,
maximum of 15.
maximum of 15 feet. That's the motion.
Okay. Did you want a material like what they show on there?
Like a solid material, solid, like neutral color material, like a stone, they have in most of their other developments. It's like a wall, stone wall.
Precast or not like the one screened by one-man band.
Right.
The vinyl
The
slabs.
the vinyl.
The vinyl
slab.
slats in this,
Solid?
yeah, like a solid,
Solid, not like horse fencing.
One
Yeah.
of the things, yeah, okay.
Okay.
not like a screen with slats to make it solid, yeah.
Second.
Okay, I have a first from Councilman McComber, a second from Councilman Carn. Any further discussion from the council?
I would just say, related to the motion, I would be open to future discussions around some of the other sites if we knew what they were. We don't need to know the tenant, but
Problem is they can change tenancy.
I understand, but what I meant is not tied to the tenant, but the kind of use where we could like say, okay, maybe what you're planning here would be appropriate for a 6 foot or something
If
like that.
Vinyl Industries buys a lot next to them, and, that's my concern.
Right.
Yeah. I'm with you, I agree, but I'm with you.
So I mean, what I'm saying is my vote is you can't ever come back. No, it is not that you can't ever come back.
Okay.
Okay, Councilman Podeska.
Aye.
McComber.
Aye.
Wilden.
Aye.
Porter.
Aye.
Carn.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you for participating in a discussion with us tonight. Business item 4, Code Amendment Title 19.
Eventually.
Mayor and council, if you'll recall, several months back, we had a proposed concept plan and plat that came forward with the River's Edge development that's just down the street here on Crossroads Boulevard and the river. And following that discussion, or as part of that discussion, it was brought up that it would be a good idea for us to have some gateway areas that had additional restrictions or requirements placed upon those. And so staff took direction from the council to go ahead and prepare that. We did meet with a couple of the councilmen, McComber and Carn, I believe it was, that we met with and did an initial proposal at that time. We did further staff review and research, and this is what we've come up with at this time. So it does involve several chapters and sections of the code so that we're being consistent and making good cross-referencing where needed. So this is putting the code into place for the next step that we will be coming back with is to propose application of this gateway onto certain properties, which in essence is the same process as a rezone. But it wouldn't be a rezone, it would just be adding an additional layer on top of the requirements that are part of the existing zoning on those properties. So this basically covers a lot of things, including circulation, aesthetics, environmental sustainability, safety. We did bring this forward to the Planning Commission at their last meeting and reviewed with them the suggested prohibited uses within a gateway overlay. And as shown on the screen here, they recommended that we add some additional, so shown in red are the ones that were suggested by Planning Commission that we did not have in our first draft that was sent to you. So I don't know if I could read through all those. I think you can see them, but if there's any questions on those particular uses that we would consider prohibited in a gateway area, if there's any additional, or if you would like to make recommendations on changes there, we can look at that. Landscaping is a big portion of the requirements that are being implemented with this new gateway overlay. So we're looking at additional landscaping that would include things such as raised accent planters, clusters of different types of trees or grasses, water features, or other similar features that can be reviewed and approved at a staff level. And 50% of entrance areas in buildings, street sides, wouldn't need to include streetscaping. And we've got a long list of types of streetscaping, either outdoor furniture or other types of elements that would be considered as part of the requirement of entrance to buildings in a gateway area. One of the big things that we also included was no parking between the building and the arterial street or collector, so that area would be landscaped so that you've got that beautiful environment as you're coming into the city. Instead of a bunch of cars being in front of the building. So this would require the building entrance to be not facing the arterial or collector, but coming in at a different point and facing a different direction than the arterial or collector. and signage, development plans to be reviewed by Planning Commission but approved by City Council. And then some additional building standards for various things that are currently in our code as a requirement with the buffer, the waterfront buffer areas. And so we felt like this was very similar to that. There's an overlapping there, of course, in some of our entrances. But what we're looking at here in section 191610, it talks about the buffer area. And we felt like, well, let's just add to that the gateway overlay and have similar requirements. There is one section that the Planning Commission stumbled over a little bit in the verbiage, and we could see why. So we're recommending a change to what was in our original proposal, where the verbiage doesn't flow real well. And as we looked at that particular section, we weren't sure that the gateway overlay really needed to be included in that particular requirement, because it's talking about entrances shall be prominent on the waterfront side of the building as the street. Well, if there's no parking allowed on the street side, then you're not going to have an entrance there anyway. So we just removed that from, and just and part of the change here is that we're calling it not just buffer overlay, but waterfront buffer. So we're more specific as to what we're talking about.
Can you go, I just have one, can you go back a slide?
Yeah.
I just had a quick question, bullet point 2, signage should follow uniform design plan for appearance and style. Is that across the entire buffer, or is that just per development?
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
The signage shall follow a uniform design plan for appearance and style. Is that across the city in this overlay? I mean, I'm aware of cities where they require a specific type of sign in certain areas.
It would be any developments within that gateway area.
Right, but so if somebody builds something over on SR 73 and Eagle Mountain, on the border with Eagle Mountain, and they have to have the similar signage to what we have on Pony Express and Crossroads Boulevard?
No, this would.
Within
the development.
Okay.
Per development, yes.
Okay.
Another element that we talked about initially was to have some kind of requirement for welcome to Saratoga Springs. We found in legal review that it's not something we can require of a development. That would be something that perhaps we as a city can work as a partner with them in establishing these types of welcome monuments, but it's not something that we could require of the development.
Thank you. Sorry.
Okay, so then, that's a brief review of the actual gateway overlay code that we're bringing forward. But this is what we're proposing, and briefly we can review this, or we can take time to discuss the areas that we've identified for application, which will be coming forward to you soon. Briefly, I'll review those and stop me if you want to talk about these properties.
And I'm sorry, I'm assuming that we wouldn't be actually putting a circle, but we'd be
Right.
specifying specifically.
This is identifying generally, but we'll come back to you and say specifically where those property lines. Yes,
I figured as much, but I just want to make sure.
right.
It'll be drawn to the plot,
It's like, I'm sorry,
How it applies to this general area?
including Lehigh.
Right. So East Pioneer Crossing, all of those properties on either side of the street that are currently in Saratoga Springs, we would identify as gateway areas. There was also a conversation about perhaps, and I was going to add a circle there, but did not do that, that perhaps on the west side of the river, that we also include some of those properties there. Eventually, there could be a closing of the gap there, and that what is sometimes known as Florida piece. But it's almost like we have two entrances coming on that roadway into the city. So I suppose I would like to get your feedback as to whether you think on the west side of the river up to Redwood Road, perhaps, that we also establish a gateway overlay on that area.
Yes, because the sign's there.
Yeah, yeah. Hopefully that sign can be moved at some point. It feels funny that you're,
I think yes.
yeah, okay. Well, we will include that.
Pull your oval,
Yeah.
stretch it out.
Okay, then looking at East Crossroads Boulevard, the River's Edge development that we did review recently included there, and then what's known as the Steel Ridge Plaza on the south side is what would also be included.
Now, so that one's already under construction, the south one.
It does have some
The
initial,
north one's already been approved.
but there is not a site plan approved on the
Okay.
Steel Ridge. So this is where we can get in there
We can
and,
still get in. Okay, I was just like, are we too late?
no,
Both of these were okay.
Okay.
we could be if we don't move quickly.
Let's table this.
Okay, then on the north end of Redwood Road, we circled two areas. One property that could ultimately become a part of Saratoga Springs, but which is currently not, but we would just identify that as potential. Otherwise, the area below that, which includes the property we were just talking about previously, the previous item.
Southeast corner is in Lehigh.
I want to push the button
South.
because his house is turned in.
Yeah.
South, yes.
That's in Lehigh.
North, east, no,
Southeast of 2100.
That is not circles. Is that where that swim school's at?
Yeah, well, it's in front of the swim school, but that's in Lehigh, right? Yes.
right,
Thank you.
That was my question. That's why it's not circled.
right.
Ken, sorry, going back
Yep.
to that last one. So what I'm looking at is comparison to the south entrance, how that's. a
This is
pretty
really
long corridor. Kind of the comments on the previous item of not having it look industrial coming into, through this entrance, could that be lengthened to be a little bit more south? Or are we beyond, applicants already being far enough ahead that it would?
I think that's a fairly sizable length and when we look at the one on the south end of the community, it's kind of more based on property lines and what the potential is for development down there when the potential bridge crosses the lake. But I'm thinking that this is especially if we're doing both sides, if that property becomes on that northern end that's in Lehigh currently, if that becomes part of Saratoga Springs, I think we're going to have a pretty lengthy corridor of entryway from the north side. I mean, we could look at extending that if you'd like. Yeah. Okay, so now we're on West SR 73, so it's a pretty broad circle there, but we've got community commercial on the south side. Then we've got some industrial and planned community with wildflower there. And that is not all specified by site plan yet. It's, of course, regulated otherwise by their community plan. But we can still go in and apply some of our requirements in that area.
This one's a question, I guess, probably for Mark and Owen, maybe you know too, Ken. SR 73 will at some point be a freeway. Are they, I know that they're expanding it now, but, or in the next few years, but like, are they going straight to a freeway now, or it's still just, they're just widening it and then, okay. Because I mean, if this is gonna be a freeway and there's no interchange, it's, you know, I get it's a gateway, but it's also a gateway that people are just gonna be flying by at 70 miles an hour. So I'm a little less concerned about, you know, dressing up the general industrial. But if it is gonna be a road that people will still be having access off of, then
Yeah, there is in Wildflower, pretty close to the border with industrial, there is a planned roadway there that you can see the road on the south side that comes in there. So it will create a four-way.
Can you, I'm sorry, can we look at this in zoomed out a little bit? This one and the next one, I know where in the city they're at, but I just kind of want
Sarah, can you
Better
pull up
picture
a
of,
map?
like, how it relates
Zoom
to-
in on?
So Chris, I also have a tendency to agree with you because it's going to be industrial and stuff, but you can do some cool shielding still with like landscaping. Perfect example is East Bay over by the old Novell campus. They've done a really good job with trees and bushes and wider park strips and things, trails to shield all that industrial. So instead of having sign rules and things, but there's other ways to make it look
And
nice.
I'm not necessarily opposed to it. I was just like, if they're going straight to a freeway now, then I'm like, nobody's gonna even associate that with Saratoga Springs. But if it's gonna stay the grade level road.
Is it really planned for freeway?
Yeah.
It is, there is a layer for that. Under the transportation plan. It
Right,
used to be
that's
there,
perfect.
it's been pulled out, it shows all of the flyover, over ramps and stuff. To your point, yeah, it will be a freeway. I think probably not in any of our careers or lifetimes.
Okay.
But it will at some point be
I remember going to some meetings and like they were buying out people's houses and stuff, and so I wasn't sure if they were planning on going straight to a freeway now or if it was
I don't believe the plan
3
is-
phases down the road that they're going.
The real discussion is pivoting around what do we do with Pioneer Crossing? And it is being discussed openly with UDOT now to take Pioneer Crossing by additional width, the entire length of Pioneer Crossing from I-15 out, and start to widen that road into more lanes of traffic. So it will become more of a freeway. At some point, it will transition from freeway to limited access freeway, which would include flyovers at the key intersections, probably including Redwood Road and others.
And the plan is to have the frontage road system like on 2100. Okay.
Right.
That's a
As you can
different
see,
argument.
that doesn't impact that north side as much as it does the south.
Right.
So at build-out, I anticipate that. I don't.
But that's a lot, that's,
I think the earliest you'd see is 2050, 2060 to
Right.
have it pop up on a plan.
right. That's
What
fine.
transportation layer is that?
Oh, that's
The secret hidden layer.
the interchange lane.
I mean, right now, they're just doing corridor preservation funds to grab it, but
And there will be a crossing there, at least in when they do the frontage road system.
Right.
There'll be a crossing on whatever that purple road is. Is that Mount Saratoga?
Mount Saratoga on the south side and Wildflower on the north.
So then, I thought I knew where this was, the next picture in your slide deck, but I don't know where the next one is. That's where I thought.
Okay, this is
Not that
Pony
one.
Express.
Next one.
So you got,
You missed one.
what?
Oh, well, there's a different one in the packet.
Oh, that was, I believe in the packet, we included one that was just a close-up of that area of Wildflower and what the
Oh, okay,
roadway
okay,
was.
okay, okay. So that's just a zoom in? Okay,
Yeah,
check.
okay. All right. So now we're on Pony Express, and so you've got Mount Saratoga that has a small commercial site just right there on the furthest west end. They do have a community plan there, but we can look at applying a gateway on top of that particular commercial piece. And then because we're kind of different on both sides, we thought probably that community commercial that's in orange there would also make sense, especially if we include the SLR property on the south side. And perhaps not that big of an area. We just included that because they don't have smaller property lines. We would look at just making a smaller area on SLR to be the gateway overlay area.
I mean, along all of these, I think like we need to come up with like 150 feet, 200 feet, or whatever,
The suggestion
off
is
of the main road, right?
300 feet.
Say, sure, 300 feet off of the main road, and whatever properties are on that.
And so we would probably go 300 feet lengthwise on Pony Express for the SLR.
Right.
Okay, and then on the south end of the property, so all of these properties that are included here, well, not all of them, but most of them, especially on the lake shore, are
4 or 5 miles long.
general plan to be
All to
mixed waterfront, and with Pelican Point being the planned location for the bridge. So we just figured that, and then coming from the south into the community, it would be good to have all of these mixed waterfront to be similar in nature, and so that's why we're proposing to have that whole area there, have that gateway.
So my only concern really quick here is Councilmember Podeska made a good point, is in the south, we're going to have maybe 100 cars a day coming in other than trucks. From the north, we have a few 100,000 potentially. But the bridge is going to miss most of this.
Isn't it coming in on the point?
But on the point, and then it's going to go north.
I see what you're saying.
So the whole south.
But
So
everything's
the
south.
whole point, you have the little circle on the most important, well, second most important. I think Pioneer Crossing and then Redwood Road coming southbound into the city are the two most important. Coming in from Eagle Mountain, of course, is nice, and then this one, but we don't have huge populations coming from the south. And you have the biggest overlay in the south.
It has to be broad because we don't know where that bridge is going to be.
But the thing is but like all of Teguayo, the
but
whole
at some
thing.
point, Bio's 16.
No, again, the circle is just showing a general area.
Off of Redwood.
I think
Yeah.
what we're going to look at Redwood Road likely being the boundary for that.
But that's 2 miles, almost.
Or more.
Or more.
I mean, I think, yeah, we want it centered more around the bridge and the southern border.
Yeah, like a circle at the border and then circle up by the bridge.
As
Okay,
opposed to like the
so
entire.
bring it down so it just gets to Pelican Point, then south.
And then another one down at the entrance.
It has to be flexible depending on where that bridge goes.
Yeah,
Right.
and we, maybe we can have a caveat in there saying based on the bridge alignment or something. But the comment I've had my name on with Mayor Miller for a bit, and I appreciate the opportunity, Mayor. I really liked, if you read the commissioner's comments, I appreciated sending the notes from their minutes, because they had some really good insights as non-elected representatives, if you would. They're also residents of the city, and they really appreciated this effort. They really appreciated us making this kind of approach to protect their entrance to the city. And I really liked Commissioner Kilgore's comment. He said, this is how you differentiate from one city to another. One of the biggest complaints of Utah is that you don't know what city you're in from when you go to another. If you're back east, you know when you go from one city in Rhode Island to another city in Rhode Island, because there's a distinct community image. We have created some of that with our new police station, our city hall potentially. We're creating that Newport feel, speaking of the Northeast. But we need, and we have the river, we've embraced the river. Our days are called splash days. And so another comment made by, I can't remember which commissioner, I apologize, I would like to give him credit, said, we need to give the developers some ideas of what we're looking at, what the sign looks like, because I'm not sold, just because UDOT did the brass sign when they did the Pioneer Crossing, we matched that. I don't see that as our image. I don't see that as like, ooh, that's what we want to be seen as, an industrial brass with stone. I see it more of that Newport, maybe what we did with our police station. And so I really like the idea of having a packet, this overlay packet, that when someone comes in, you know, Sarah, and you can present them and say, you're in the overlay zone, here's sort of the vision, here's our police station, here's the justice court, and here's what their plan is for City Hall, and here's this. This is the idea and feel that we're looking for. Be creative. Help us be unique. Help us know that you've gone from Eagle Mountain to Saratoga Springs. It's not just houses.
Well, and that was kind of what I was getting at with the sign and aesthetics being per development, because then each of these is going to look different, right? I'm not in favor necessarily of mandating a specific look. My family lives back east, and they, like, every residential, commercial, industrial development has a sign, and it's black with gold lettering. Like, and so you know you're in the city, and when you leave, you know you've left because you don't see those signs anymore. I'm not in favor of mandating it, but I like the idea of,
Here's
this
the
is the
general
look we're going for. Please run with this.
And be creative.
Yeah.
And as they present, we would still have the ability to approve or not, and give our opinion.
We can create some design guidelines that would go along
Right,
with.
but I don't want it to be, I don't necessarily want to get to the point where this is what you're required to do as much as we would.
A
really
guideline would be
appreciate it
just
if you-
that, it's a
And
guideline.
I'm in agreement. I didn't say requirements. I was saying, here's the general feel.
I just, when I hear design guidelines, I know it means different things to you, but I hear, we had engineering standards on what color our light bulbs are, so I'm just worried, that we get-
Guidelines versus standards. Guideline is a strong suggestion.
Yeah, and mainly just here's some other things in the city that we've done, because like even Neptune Park, like if you're in that region of the city, then maybe it can have a little bit more of that kind of feel as you're coming into the city, but you can't tell me, like, if there is not a sign, you do not know when you go from Orem to Provo, except one location. When you come off the Costco and you're coming down the hill and you go to the river bottoms, you know you've entered Provo. Because those people represented the council and the mayor when they brought that road in, and they said we wanted to be uniquely different, and we didn't want to look like just every other entrance to the city, transferring from Orem to Provo. And the people of Provo demanded that there was a little bit nicer, the roundabout and all the different things they did. So I really appreciated the commissioner's comments. They said things that I hadn't even thought of. The other thing that they were concerned, and I appreciated you adding in some more of those, there's still others, like we really want to avoid car washes at the entrance to the. I know, but you know what I'm saying, because I didn't see your list and when I heard their comments and things. But let's just make sure we really go through and list through this and really have a moment. We can't. I mean, I'm looking through it now. It's so long. It's very difficult to think through it. But the last thing is some of the height limitations. Height isn't a bad thing for an entrance to a city. You could have some really cool looking buildings if there's some height. And so we're restricting what our natural code height is allowed for buildings. If it fits the location and it fits the dynamics of it, then it could work. Like even coming off of on Crossroads Boulevard, you have the lower and the higher. You wouldn't really want a huge building on the higher, the north side of Crossroads Boulevard, but on the south side, you could probably get away with maybe a 35, 40-foot building. So I guess I don't want, maybe to your point again, I don't want to have it be so strict that we limit creativity. What we really want to do is encourage these developers when they're coming in their overlay to be more creative. And we're giving them this opportunity to be creative in our community. One of my real frustrations I had a few years back on the council is when Wendy's came in, they offered to give us the land on the corner right there and offered to plumb water to it. They offered to do everything. And we could have put Saratoga Springs, we could have had a fountain or a waterfall, something similar to Riverton. And the council voted it down at the time. I wasn't part of it because they didn't see that that was appropriate. Well, now we've lost that corner forever, and it just looks like every other corner in Utah. Streetlights, big intersection, no charm, no character. And we could have had that. Wendy's was willing to give us that whole corner, that land, to the city to do something really cool.
Yeah.
And we missed out on that opportunity. And that's not obviously in this corridor, but that's an example of why we're trying to do this, is so that we can work with developers and be creative. So thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Councilman McComber, to your point, as far as the requirement, the height restriction, that is in that same area where we're talking about the waterfront buffer. So we could easily, on that provision there, just remove gateway overlay from the height restriction that is in that particular section.
Then the waterfront takes care.
Yeah.
Any other? Okay, Ken?
That's it. If there's, I would recommend we move forward on this so that we can get to application. We can always make further amendments as we go down the road, but it'd be nice to have something in place so that we can get in front of some of the development that is coming.
Yeah. Do we need to adjust the circles, or is that this just for
If you want to
information
make
purpose?
recommendations for that, I did make note of the southern entrance being reduced down to the Pelican Point area down to the.
I'm just saying, like, as part of the motion, do we, is this an official figure or this?
No.
Okay,
No, this is just. Yeah.
perfect.
I move that, you're entertaining.
Go ahead.
Go for it.
I move that we approve Code Amendment Title 19 Gateway Overlay 191402 as list, and all the others listed as on the agenda, with various community entry areas to be defined more specifically coming forward. And this being ordinance 22-44 dated today with all staff findings and conditions.
Did you want to change the?
The height restriction.
Oh, and then to remove the height restriction in
the
that
gate.
waterfront overlay.
Yeah.
Yep.
And to bring forward some design guidelines?
Yes, we can do
Well,
that.
I don't even want that to be part of the.
Okay, that's just.
Yeah,
okay.
sorry.
We will do that anyway.
Yeah, that was more of a suggestion. Thank you, council member.
Okay, so I have a first from Councilman McComber.
I'll second.
I have a second from Councilman Podeska. Any other discussion?
Well, just as a member of the two council committee, I want to thank staff for all the work that went into this.
Thank you.
Okay, Councilman Carn,
Aye.
Porter.
Aye.
Wilden.
Aye.
McComber.
Aye.
Podeska.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. I just had one more comment before we adjourn. On item 3, we had that letter from Lehigh in support. Can we make sure that's in the minutes? As part of the official record.
We also have to put a sign on the back of the fence.
Yep. Okay. Motion is adjourned. Meeting's adjourned. Motion, meeting's adjourned.